off, thank you for coming on, and fingers crossed that StreamYard works, because they literally kept emailing me reminders that it might not work. So I know. I think there's a lot of people on. I know. So I'm excited because I've been wanting to have you on, because first off, I miss you, my friend. I like it when we get to chat like this, even though, you know, for our viewers, you know, you and I chat every single day, just because we hold each other accountable, right? Which is super important. So I wanted to have you on a Wednesday specifically, because that is work from home, although we're all working from home every day, just to kind of talk about, like, I would say one of the biggest hurdles I feel like for entrepreneurs or mamapreneurs is that balancing act. And I know you and I talk about it all the time. Yep. As far as, do we ever really feel like we master it? I don't know. Do we ever feel like we master our health journey? I mean, I draw everything in relation to that, because it's a journey. It doesn't mean that it's perfection or perfect. It's just, there are certain things, certain habits, certain disciplines that I just can't help but to draw those parallels between the two, because it's the same in your business, right? Those discipline, those habits, those kind of things. So that's kind of what I specifically wanted to share today. But for those of you that are either new to my page, I'm Emily Smiley. As you're hopping on, please make sure you go to StreamYard.com and just grant them access so I can see. Also, I'm hoping to see the comments. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, but I promise to get back to them. And today we have a fellow mamapreneur that is a business partner of mine and a really good friend, Tracy Taylor Smith, which thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it and appreciate your time. And we just basically want to talk all things like, you know, entrepreneurship, working from home. We already work from home. There's a lot of people that are new to working from home. And so I feel like we can all like have those tips that we take away. And sometimes it's just needing to rehear it, needing that accountability. And other times it's like, all right, that one little thing, that one little nugget, that one little takeaway that sometimes can change the game. So once again, if you're just joining us, please grant StreamYard.com access so we can see, tell us where you're tuning in from, how you're holding up. If you're a mamapreneur, let us know how many kids you are currently at home staying safe with. For today's purposes, I'm a mom of 2. I have 2, and let me tell you, this homeschooling thing is no joke. I have one who's super independent, and it goes amazing, and she has a lot of work, but she does it. I have another one. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Tracy, what about you? Just introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your kids.
Absolutely. So same. We have 2 kids. Mine are a little bit younger phase than yours. But it's kind of funny you mentioned how with the homeschooling, the one, well, my youngest she's 4 and she's in preschool. So there's not a lot to worry about there. Right. I mean, gratefully her preschool teacher's awesome. She's like arranged some Google Hangouts for the kids and other little fun activities for them. But my oldest, she's 10 and she's like your daughter. She loves to get in there and do the online schoolwork, which I'm grateful for, though I do have to keep an eye because sometimes I'm like, are you actually messaging your friends right now? Are you doing your schoolwork? So, but no, honestly, she loves it. The thing, of course, she misses is the social aspect. And of course, for us mamas, it's needing that little bit of space, right? So right now I am hiding away in my bedroom. We're lighting, but this is as good as it gets today, right? But that, I mean, that's the reality of it. And the beautiful thing is that we can still do this, right? Amidst the chaos, amidst the homeschooling, amidst whatever is throwing a wrench in our typical schedule. So,
yeah. So where are your kids currently?
Well, I hear their voices. They're in the front room playing together. They're working on a puzzle, but we'll see.
It's hard when they're little. I know. I remember those days very well. Very, very well.
Yeah.
And then my little guy, so you have 2 girls. My oldest is a girl, but my younger is a boy. And the energy is just different. Like he doesn't sit still. And so I remember like literally bribing him to be able to do anything business related when he was home and just be like, I will give you a sticker if you will just hold still until I get off this call, right? I love you guys.
The bribery.
Like, thank you.
Maybe incentive is the better word. We have a nice incentive for our children when we need
incentive. Yes. Yeah. Well, you can call it incentive. I had years of teaching. Positive reinforcement is a better word for writing, right? So, we've all been guilty of it. I'm just saying, like, some people, I think, feel this like guilt. They're like, oh, you know, I bribe my kids. Oh, you mean you positively reinforce them? Don't worry. We've all done that. Like, it's just a fact. And so now for me, I actually have an office upstairs. And so when the doors are closed, I actually tell my kids, they're old enough now, I'm like, okay, I'm going live, you know, or I'm streaming, or I'm going to be on a Zoom call or chat. They're pretty good. Now they know better not to stop. But
I think that's a good point, just where you have to prep them, right, for that, so that they respect that and understand that. And just previous to this time we were getting on here, I purposely made time to just spend some quality time with my girls so that they were okay when I needed to leave them for a little bit. So I think there is just that importance of balancing and helping them know they are still a priority, but that there's also times when mom needs her alone time, and that's okay. That's teaching them good life skills as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yesterday I had some earlier calls, and my son just did not do very independent. And when I got done with the work that needed to be in the morning, you know, he was done. And so today, you know, I was able, we were able to flip-flop it to where him and I got up and got going this morning, got his work done. They're on fractions, which is new for him. And we got all of that done so that by the time I got on here today, and I was like, okay, so you know, I'm going to do a live stream with, you know, Tracy, which of course he knows you. He's like, oh, Tracy, tell her I said, hey. He feels rewarded. He's doing his iReady, which for him is like the end of his day. My kids are older, so they have hours of stuff that they have to get through during the course of the day, but he feels like he's at that independent level, and he knows. So I would definitely say, so I had some tips that I kind of wanted to go over, and I want to hear your feedback as well. But yeah, giving those kids the heads up and not being like, I never wanted to apologize to my kids for going to work when I actually did work out of the home and when I'm in the home. I consider it a privilege to work from home. So I never say, oh, I'm so sorry, mommy has to work. I've never used that phrase because I get to, right? It's a choice, thank goodness for us. I know for many it's not, but I don't want them to look at it as I'm apologizing because I'm being taken away from them. So that mindset for myself is going to be either non-verbally or verbally transmitted to them in how they're viewing, you know, my business, because I consider entrepreneurship a mindset and a blessing, right? And so if I can reiterate that alone to my kids in that mindset of like, okay, so you guys are good and mommy gets to go work right now and I get to go talk to people, which I'm really grateful for. You know, then they look at that. They look at that mindset. They look at that like, oh, mom gets to work. Oh, mom makes her own hours. Oh, you know, like all of those things that their little minds are still kind of putting that together, right? Because I'm not trading my hours for dollars as an entrepreneur, right? I'm building that business and then preparing them, hopefully, for some sort of entrepreneurship a role. But let me just ask you. So I think the last couple of lives I've done a little bit on scheduling. And I will say again, and I know you and I talk about this on the daily, it's like a work in progress. Like I have friends who are super duper like to the minute, which when I taught in the classroom, it was really helpful, right? We had recesses, we had to be like outside of the home, I can see where there's a place. Inside of the home particularly, that has never worked for me. I time block. So I have like a block where I allow my kids to get up. And as long as they're working by a certain time, then I'm okay with that. And then we have a block where we get work done. And then we have a block where we get like, I call it like flexible work done, where they're like on electronic work or off it or whatever. But what would you say? Because I know yours are smaller and that's a little trickier. How would you say you do your schedule, especially now in light of having to work from home and get any sort of business done and have your kids and be homeschooling at the same time? Do you have a schedule?
Yes. Like you said, we've been talking about this. This has been a real struggle. And
for a lot of people.
Yeah. And so honestly, it's really just starting to come together for me this last week. I felt like we kind of needed this transition time of figuring out what worked and what didn't, right? Getting in this rhythm. And so as my daughter was kind of figuring out what the time that she needed, right, to be working on her schoolwork. And so then I knew how to help her there. And then of course, my little one. So as you know, last week, I dove into potty training. my little one. Yeah. And so, you know, there's those times, right, where that is your schedule and that is your focus. But I feel like now that I'm beyond that hurdle, it's just nice to be able to have, and I think it's very similar to what you're doing, where we have like, okay, this is the time we get these things done in between this time and this time in the morning, right? Where I might be a little more scheduled than you. I literally like you. This is our difference in personality, right? I sat down. I've got an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, from 8 to 9 is this, 9 to 10 is this, right? Yeah, yeah. So that's the difference of our personalities. But and obviously, as I'm going, I'm like, hey, that's not going to work. Or maybe it flip flops, right? Like typically, I would do my housework first thing in the morning after I clean the kitchen and the kids are fed and they're off doing their thing, and then I'll do my work later. But what I've found is sometimes, no, I want to work on this right now, or I have some customer care that needs to be done, right? Or putting in some orders or whatever. So I'll take care of that in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I did that then. So now I'll switch and I'll do my housework during that time that I had set for later. So I think the main thing is just that I'm getting in, there's time set aside for each important priority, right? Where it's taking care of our family and it's having that downtime, and then it's having that work time, and it's having that spiritual time, right? I think it's so important to have that. I recognize when I'm in the habit of starting my day off right, the rest of the day goes well, right? So we've talked about that miracle morning. It truly is so important to have that routine in place. When I was really good about getting up early, yes, exactly. So there's a big difference.
This is the best book, you guys.
It's really good. And here's the thing is, I know for Emily, you are more of a night owl person, right? And I'm more of the early morning. And so maybe you're fitting in some of that I would do in the morning, you're doing the evening. And that's okay, right? It's just having that, the way you start the day, the way you end the day, I think plays a huge role in how.
Absolutely. Well, and I just want to add into that. Hey guys, thanks as you're hopping on. Let us know what your takeaways are, if you're getting value from that. I want to be able to see them on StreamYard. So if you'll grant StreamYard access, hopefully you guys are getting some nuggets away from this or takeaways. But yeah, I want to go back to what you were talking about when you were saying sometimes, you know, it flip-flops, but you want to make sure that you get everything in. I think as moms, it's so, now that my kids are in school normally, it's a lot easier to work my business because I drop them off, I come home, I have a work time, I have a house cleaning time, you know, all those different things that need to get done. Now it's like, woo, they're all like this, right? But I feel like a lot of people are really tempted to put that business on the back burner, because when you're an entrepreneur and you're your own boss, like no one's, you know, over your shoulder, you know, saying, hey, are you getting this done? But what I love is when you do work, like you and I, we hold each other accountable, you know, where you're like, no, this is still a priority for me. And now the kids actually get to see more of what it is I do. My son did like a writing assignment. I think it was like a year ago. And I was like, what do you think I do all day? And he was like, well, work out and do laundry. And I was like, what? Like, I mean, it's like half true, but I was like, you do know that's like not all I do. Oh, clean. I think clean was in there. And, you know, he knows that I have a business. I've always, you know, included them as I've added different income streams, like, oh, I'm doing this, but they don't really know, right? Now they kind of like, they'll be in, I think we did a video with them a week ago or so. And so I think that's good for them to see, but also it makes me more disciplined in setting that time block, whenever that is. Like, I know you said you get up in the morning. Yeah, if it's specific things where I can get it done and I don't need to like, per se, speak with someone or message someone. Yeah, I'm a night owl. And especially, you know, my husband, he's a firefighter. So a lot of the days he's on the front line, and so he's gone. And so the kids go to bed or whatever. And yeah, I stay up far too late, but that's when I get a lot of it done. During the day, you know, it's more like this and connecting and, you know, reaching out to people and doing that customer care, and which is what I did a lot this morning. In between fractions, I'm like, you know, messaging people. And so, you know, you make it happen, but having that schedule, and that, I would say it was like, it's like what you're going to get done, right? Your non-negotiables, your DMO, whatever you want to call it. Do you have a specific DMO for your business and then for your life, or do you like mix them all together?
It's kind of all in there together, right? I mean, obviously when I've got my time scheduled for my business, but once I'm in there, I've found that when I have like that's the specifics of, say, the power hour. Okay, so talking about, this is something that I've embraced recently because it'll make a big difference. you know, I can get overwhelmed, right? And you think about like, well, if you're constantly messaging people throughout your day, or you're constantly, you know, doing your Facebook post or whatever at random times, then it can easily suck you in and take you time out, right? Versus like the time blocking, okay, for 15 minutes, I am going to be catching up on my messages, right? For 15 minutes, I'm going to be doing emails, or for 15 minutes, I'm going to put some posts, schedule some posts to put out. So I think, again, that's where kind of within that life schedule, once I get into my business, I think it is important to kind of schedule out and time block that too, right? Because otherwise we get down that rabbit hole, which is really easy to do.
And it is. And it's so funny. I will do that for my kids, and I have to remind myself to do it for myself. So if my kids are reading, I'm like, set the timer. If they're doing the piano, I'm set the timer. I did that when I had a classroom. Everybody's like, how do you always stay on schedule? I'm like, oh, I set a timer. And when it goes off, like the kids know we're done.
Timer's good.
It makes sense to do that in your business, because you can go down that scroll hole, right? Like, especially when you're building your business and you're building it on social media and online, you know, and part of your job really is to interact and connect with people and see what they're up to and what they're doing. But when you know specifically who it is that you're talking to, what it is that you're talking about, and you've got exactly what you need, or like you said, like you're like, all right, 15 minutes, I'm going to do this, right? Like, I know I've talked about stirring up that algorithm in Facebook and Instagram when you get on and commenting and liking, and you're really just being a human being. But it helps when you do that before you start to post and you put things in, just because that's the game, right? That's how Facebook plays it. But setting that timer is really, really, really good. The other day I did my Facebook Live on like basically like excuses. And even though they're totally valid, we've all made them, but you can either have like excuses or you can have results, right? But it's hard to have both. But it's so funny right now when everything is just like, literally there's no start or stop time or anything. I feel like that going back to that timer is so important, because like sometimes I can do the opposite. I can literally get sucked into my business and forget that my kids are downstairs.
Right?
I did that the other day, and they were like, Mom, you said you were going live like an hour ago. I was like, oh, I literally like got off and got into doing something else, and I had promised them something.
I love that they were the ones reminding you you were going to do that.
I was like, oh, my bad. I did forget that I had done that. And then the other night I got busy working, and my son stayed awake because I told him I would come read a story. I mean, we all like have those lapses. It's never perfect, right? But you're like, that's where I should have set the alarm during that at 9 o'clock at night. Because he was like, Mom, I'm still waiting on my story. I'm like, oh, my bad.
Well, and it can be a struggle, and I think it does just take practice, right? Because I know for me too, once I'm in it, it is hard to stop. Like you said, right? You find yourself, oh, I'm just getting into making this blog post, right? And you don't want to stop or whatever. But another thought came to mind for me as we were talking about this, like a mentor of mine would often say, if you have even just done one good thing in your business today, sleep well tonight. And I think that's important to remember, because I think as parents and as mothers, especially, we expect a lot of ourselves, right? And we'll beat ourselves up if we don't get to everything on that to-do list. And because things will happen, right? You're going to have, my daughter, you know, like I said, is recently potty trained. She's going to still have accidents, and things are going to happen now and then. It could be right in the middle of my power hour time, right? And so there goes that 15 minutes. And it is what it is, right? And that's okay. Like, I think the important thing is just remember, you do the best you can. And if you are touching it every day, you're leading with the desire to really make a difference for people, and, you know, you're taking steps forward. Just keep taking steps, I guess, is really the mantra there. Like, no matter what, just keep taking steps and be proud of yourself for doing that, because we're all in the same situation, right? Of life's a little bit hectic right now, and the unknowns of everything, right? And it's put us all up in upheaval. And so how are you dealing with it? Are we taking this opportunity to make the most of it and make it a time that our families will remember that we spent more time together, right? Quality time, that they saw their mom or their dad continuing to work their business consistently, but still giving equal time to them and helping them with their schoolwork, right? And like you were saying, it is an opportunity for them to see more of what we're dealing with in and out.
You don't clean and do laundry all day, every day only.
So seeing all the lessons like that, right? Being grateful and then giving yourself kudos for getting done with it.
That is important on the kudos, because I feel like sometimes, you know, when you're juggling all of the things, right? And you're like, you have this list of everything in your business that you really want to tackle. And you have these house projects, right? Like last week, I spent it was the spring break, so the kids didn't have as much school. I tackled every single house project and I did the minimum on my business. But for me, for last week, I had my husband home, I had my kids, like I was going to take that time, and that's okay. But when you decide, I feel like ahead of time, that really takes the pressure off, because it's the opposite. If I say in my business, like that I need to get whatever this big chunk is, usually it's the number one thing that you don't want to do, right? That's the number one thing that you need to do. I know we've had discussions on this, but just to share. But when I do that, even just the first step, the guilt goes away. Because even if I don't get to the rest of the list that day, if I've tackled like the main thing that I needed to get done, then I don't end the day feeling bad about it. I'm like, well, it's much easier for me to say, well, that just didn't get done, but I did get this done in whatever it is. Like if it's a house project, great. But since we're talking business here, like that's important for your business too. And when you set you know, a hard line for yourself, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like a turn, like, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you have to have it done, a deadline.
A deadline, yes.
When you set a deadline for yourself, that's important so that you can remember. No, so that you get it done. Because it's so easy to push it out and push it out and push it out and push it out and push it out. And you have to hold your self-leadership, right? Which I know, by the way, guys, if you have not read Miracle Morning, this one is for network marketers specific, but there is the regular. I highly, highly, highly recommend it, because you need to create some sort of normalcy. Yes, you want your kids to have fun. I want them to remember this time as like having lots of like family fun nights. And actually, when I get off of here, we're going to go on a bike ride. We don't normally have time to go on all these bike rides we've been going on because they're in sports in the afternoons. So I'm super grateful for that. And some days that's all the exercise that I'm getting. But after 2 hours of biking, it feels like enough. But yeah, just holding yourself accountable for those deadlines that you've set for yourself. And at the end of the day, even when I'm brain dead and I really just want to binge watch something on Netflix, I'm really holding myself accountable to go, okay, I need to get through this course, or I need to get back to this person, or I need to, you know, get these blog posts, you know, scheduled out, or, you know, whatever that is for myself, because that's important too. But more important than that, when I get that done, then that mom guilt goes away and I can focus on my kids, because I'm not feeling guilty that I'm not working on my business because I got that done. Does that make sense? Am I the only one?
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm totally like, yes to everything you're saying. Sure. And it's true. Like, I think the sooner in the day, right, that we get to those things that we don't want to do the most, like you said. Yeah. So true. Then it just takes that weight off our shoulders. And a lot of times it motivates me then to do other things, right? Because you're like, awesome, I got that done. I did want to mention one thing, as we've talked about the Miracle Morning. I love that in there they talk about affirmations, right? And I think it makes me that mindset really plays a huge role in how motivated we are to actually get to this stuff, because it's hard and it takes energy when we are busy parents, right? To just fit in that one more thing. We've done so much already to keep up on our household and our families. So I think that's something, if you guys haven't attempted to use that before, but just having that positive time in the morning to focus on that visualizing, right? And using those affirmations to change and help that mindset so that you're in a good place and you know what your goals are, you know, planning ahead. I think even if you had mentioned in the very beginning, kind of just how there's parallels, right, between all of these things in our lives and having scheduling. Well, it's, you know, same thing. If we plan ahead when our meal, right, we're cooking healthy meals, it takes planning to do that, right? Anything in our life, it takes planning. So if we're planning out our business week ahead of time, then it's not just kind of like this, oh, I'll get to that at some point, right? It's having those deadlines like you talked about. It's breaking it down into doable steps for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And it's so funny. Everybody's like, well, how are you doing? Well, it's, you know, there's that joke. It's like the introverts are great, but can you check on the extroverts? Well, I can honestly say, oh, lost an earring, that I'm an extrovert, but I do really well at home. And I honestly believe that that is because I set a schedule for myself to where I'm able to keep up with, you know, whatever it is. So I'm not mindlessly going through my day. I'm actually connecting with quite a bit of people. Honestly, the other day, I think I even posted on this page, I was tired of talking to people at the end of the day. I had literally talked to that many people. But I feel like when you have that schedule, when you're at home, however flexible or tight you need it to be, depending on your kids and your business and your time, the days are flying by. I mean, I don't know how long you are there, because I know we're in different time zones. We're over a month of being at home. And I'm like, there are days where I'm like, oh, yep, feels like it. But for the most part, I'm like, wow, okay. Like I am getting a lot done in the grand scheme of things. If you ask me on the daily, like day to day, sometimes maybe I don't feel that way. But when I stayed home, I was able to stay home with both my kids when they were both really little. And I literally like time blocked my day, right? It's flexible. So you kind of have to go with what works for you and your personality type. But I feel like you were talking about like in the morning, that first little intentional time. And if you guys didn't check out one of my, I think it was 2 Facebooks ago, I actually did share my 5 tips for like staying sane during this time. And it's a lot of what we would call self-care. I hate to use that for lack of a better word, but yeah, being gratitude, intentional, saying those affirmations, getting outside. I know for some people that's a chore normally to get a workout in. I actually have pushed my workouts into the afternoon to make sure that I get done what I need to get done while my kids are mentally like on it. Because normally I drop them at school and then I go to the gym at like 9 a.m. But if I do that now, my kids are done. Like they mentally fractions, nope, not happening. So, you know, we've had to change everything, yes, but getting like that flexible time and a discipline. It is a discipline, right? Because we're having to make sure we get to the work so it doesn't, you know, overwhelm us, right? So our business tasks don't overwhelm us. I can say, well, you know, I did this today, I did this today, I did this today. And I wouldn't know that if I didn't actually put it on paper, right? And have that intentionally set so that at the end of the day, even if I get kid-rupted all day long and I feel like it got hijacked, if I get those like literally bullet point tasks done on my sticky note, because that's how I roll with a sticky note, then I can feel better about that, right? And it makes me feel better. At the end of the day, I'm like, okay, it got done.
Yeah. Well, we just got notice too that school is out for the rest of the year for us. So
welcome to the club.
So we better find a way to make this work.
Well, I can tell people, I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, so I was homeschooled all the way through and then became a teacher and taught school for 16, 17 years. So it's like 12 weeks. Like give or take, right, of their life. And there's so many other things. So I've been teaching my son to do laundry. I've been teaching him how to hook up Zoom, Google Classroom. I mean, there's a lot of tasks that I don't think parents think about. And yes, they miss their friends, but they're not getting like uber social time. Like he's probably had better conversations, and he's a boy, so they don't really talk. They're just playing ball and shoving each other around. But now it's like they're like trying to FaceTime Zoom. It's funny. It's funny. But you know, it works. So there's other things that they're learning, like having the time for the bike ride. And my kids are older. I put each of them in charge of dinner. And so they are in charge of picking the recipe, and it has to fit like my quota, right? Like I don't do dairy. Like we have our diet that we fit. And they have to write down the ingredients that we need because Dad's already out on the line. So he usually picks it up for us. I haven't even been to the store in a month and a half. I'm not kidding. My car almost didn't start the other day. But they're doing their own dinner. And until last night when I actually went to make mine and they had used my ingredients for my dinner, other than that, it's gone really well. We're learning things is what I'm saying. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be get your workbook pages done for math, get your workbook pages done for language arts. Like sometimes there are other things. So I just want to remind, you know, if you're still, you know, hanging out with us, you know, cut yourself some slack on the kid end of things because they're getting more than you realize. If you're making them get up, get dressed by a certain time, if they're sitting down and tackling their studies, that's a certain amount of discipline to be able to do that at home. We as entrepreneurs know that, right? Like when there's no one, when they don't have a teacher sitting over the top of them, but you're still teaching them, hey, you got to sit down and get your work done. However perfect or imperfect it may be, they're still getting that lesson. And that's an entrepreneur, like self discipline level that a lot of kids
accountability, self-accountability,
they don't have. You're not spoon feeding it. You're like, I'm the parent. I don't know. My husband like looked at the math and he's like, I have no clue. Figure it out.
I know.
He did figure it out. So I was like, so it was a lesson. So I was like, hey, bud, you know, do you think you could probably do more of this where normally you'd ask the teacher, you could probably figure it out yourself? He was like, well, I'm not asking dad. Right.
Right. See, sorry, I got my little one coming in right now.
That's okay.
Such is life.
Yep, absolutely. Well, if you do you have anything else you want to add as far as juggling the life?
Like I said before, I think just keep taking steps. I love that we're there. I feel like this whole opportunity is really opening that option for a lot of people, right? That maybe never thought about it before. And I think it's super exciting. I'm excited to see what comes out of this for people, right? Who's going to rise up from this situation? And and I love how so many people are thinking outside the box, right? And how can they continue on their business in this situation and taking things online, or just the creativity, right? That comes out of hardship. And I love that. So, you know, we're all doing our best, and hopefully you guys found some value in what we have to share. And I'll just mention, I am not perfect by any means at this. And I like to say I am a recovering perfectionist, because I recognize that perfection is boring. And perfection, another thing I love, I've heard another mentor say, is perfection is for poor people. So if you are going to be worrying about being perfect, then you're not going to get anywhere. So paint the plane. What is another one? A friend of mine says, paint the plane as it flies, right? Build that plane as you're flying it. So, you know, Get out there, try different things. If this isn't working, right? Like I've got my schedule. If it's not going to work, then I got to fix it, right? I got to tweak it, just like anything in our lives. You just got to be willing to be flexible and
share with others, because I feel like there's a lot of people ready to go back, but there's a lot of people that don't have anything to go back to, right? They don't have a job to go back to. Or maybe they like the idea of staying at home. Like when my son was born, before I even got into like network marketing, I was home and I realized, you know what? I don't really want to go back to teaching full time. Like I like being at home with my kids. I like setting my own schedule. I like doing that. And I feel like, and we can leave on this, but I would love to hear your thoughts before we close. You know, some people, you know, there's both ends of the spectrum for everything in life. But there, you know, some people say, well, I don't really want to tell people because I don't want to seem, you know, spammy, or my friends and my family, or, oh my gosh, I got the full gamut in the last couple of days. But there's a lot of people out there that are looking for options, like viable, liable options to work from home. So what advice would you share for people in working their business, as far as like, if they feel uncomfortable, but they do have a product, a service, or an opportunity that could help someone? What advice would you share with them?
You know, a real turning point for me, because I can very much relate to that. I have always had a hard time with like selling, right? Selling to my friends and family, and worrying so much about what they thought, and got burned out on the whole home parties and all of that old school way of doing it. So I love that you and I both kind of ventured into this online way of doing our business before now, when it's actually a necessity to do that, right? So I'm so grateful for that, and the things I've learned along the way. But the biggest thing that I've taken away from that, and it's just felt more authentic to me, is leading with value, right? And anything that you're sharing, think about leading with value, and not the product, but leading with the benefits, right? What is in it for them? And I think anything you ever post or share, always speak to that, because people are hurting, right? People are hurting financially. People are hurting health-wise more than ever. And in so many, and just spiritually, right? Or socially, or just, there's so much negative. So just giving that positive, being a light for people, sharing your light. You have something to give that nobody else can. And you're going to attract. That's what I love, is that if you're yourself, if you be yourself out there, don't try to be someone else, right? Be yourself, being positive, giving value, you are going to attract your tribe. You are going to attract people like you that want to learn more and be around you and do whatever you're doing, and we'll follow you. So just be confident in that. I guess that's about it.
No, that's great. Just to tag on the end of that, that's exactly, you know, what I would say, kind of similar in a nutshell, would be, you know, now is not the time to back off. You don't have to be spamming your newsfeed with your business, product, and opportunity. But if you're making it a point to connect as a human being first, with kindness, with love, with compassion, and no strings attached, no offers attached, just leading, like you said, you know, with value and sincere love and compassion, you know, and you don't even have to say anything. You don't even have to offer anything, just stating, I'm here for you, you know, or maybe you feel comfortable in saying, you know, well, if you're looking for something, let me know. And then taking the strings off of that. But if you're connecting, now is not the time to back off, especially online, especially on social media, because that's where everybody is right now. And so even if all you're doing is showing up, you know, leading with value, connecting, you know, being funny. People just want to be entertained right now. That's why they're all on social media to begin with. So they're not getting on there to do business with you. They're getting on there to connect with you because they're lonely or they're bored or, you know, whatever the reason. So if you're just present and you're connecting with those people in however way that happens to be, messenger, online, on a phone, video, whatever, right? Facebook Lives, then they're going to remember you. And so maybe if it's not now, if it's down the road or not, you know, maybe somebody that they know. But, you know, being that human being, like you were saying, and leading with value first, that would probably be the biggest takeaway. So thanks, you guys, for hopping on. If you're watching this on the replay, please let me know. Replay, if you got value, we'd love to know. Feel free to follow Tracy. She's got stunning, like really good videos. They're like perfect. There's mine that looks like her blooper reel. But feel free to follow her on her page. Hopefully we'll get to do this again. I love this, my friend. Thank you so very much for taking the time out of your very busy day to share your tidbits about working from home. I really, really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I hope you are crushing it in your business. Get out there, have a miracle morning for yourself, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.